It is necessary to notice at this stage that in an original suit of this nature, it was not appropriate for the additional district judge to pass an order directing the parties to maintain status quo without indicating what was the status quo. If he was satisfied that the appellant before him had made out a prima facie case for ad interim ex parte injunction, it was for him to have passed such an order of injunction full stop. But simply directing the parties to maintain status quo without indicating what was the status quo, is not an order that should be passed at the initial stage of a litigation, especially when one court had found no reason to grant an ex parte order of injunction and the appropriate and appellate court was dealing with only the limited question whether ad interim order of injunction should or should not have been granted by the trial court, since the appeal was only against the refusal of ad interim ex parte order of injunction and the main application for injunction pending suit, was still pending before the trial court itself to stop. Therefore, we are prima facie of the view that the additional district judge ought not to have passed an evocal order like the one passed in the circumstances of the case to stop. But of course, that aspect has relevance only to the extent that before ordering an interim mandatory injunction or refusing it, the court has first to consider whether the plaintiff has proved that he was in possession on the date of suit and on the date of the order, and he had been dispossessed, unless a clear prima facie finding that the plaintiff was in possession on those dates is entered, an order for interim mandatory injunction could not have been passed full stop. Admittedly, the defendants are the owners of the building full stop. The plaintiff was setting up a case that the plaintiff scheduled part of the building had been granted to him on lease on 17/4/1998 and that he had obtained possession thereof on the basis of such a lease transaction full stop. The lease, thus set up by the plaintiff has been denied by the defendants, who had pleaded that the plaintiff had been entrusted with some renovation work for which he was being paid, and the alleged document relied on by him was a concocted one full stop. The grant of mandatory injunction would necessarily depend upon the plaintiff establishing before the court that on 19/6/1998, when the court directed the parties to maintain status quo, he was in possession as a tenant of the plaintiff scheduled property full stop. Therefore, the first question that the district court had to consider pursuant to the order of remand by the High Court was whether the plaintiff had prima facie established that the building was let out to him as claimed full stop. It is difficult to imagine that such a building of this nature would have been let out in such an informal manner, and the transaction not being evidenced even by a rent deed executed by the lessor.